This morning, Mr. Falwell. On Twitter this week, you praised what you called the president's bold, truthful statement about Charlottesville, saying you were so proud of Donald Trump. But the president said Tuesday there were, quote, very fine people on both sides. Who were those very fine people marching with the neo-Nazis?
The bold and truthful statements I was referring to were his willingness to call evil and terrorism by its name, to identify the groups, the Nazis, the KKK, the white supremacists, and that's something a leader should do, and I admire him for that. You know, President Trump is something that we haven't had in national leadership in a long time. He's substance over form. So many of our politicians, recent leaders, national leaders, have been form over substance. They tell people what they want to hear. They sugarcoat everything, or they have sugarcoated everything, and I think the American people have gotten sort of thin-skinned, and I think they need to listen to the substance of what he said. The only groups he identified by name as the evil and causing what happened in Charlottesville were the Nazis, the KKK, and the white supremacists. Well, that's what I thought was bold and truthful.
Well, let me tell you what he said, though. Let's go back to this. He said there were very fine people on both sides. Do you believe there were very fine people on both sides? I have no idea.
He has inside information that I don't have. I don't know if there were historical purists there who were trying to preserve some statues. I don't know, but he had information I didn't have, and I believe that he spoke.
What do you mean? You think he knew that some
I think
of the
he saw videos of who was there. I think he was talking about what he had seen, information that he had that I don't have. All I know is it was pure evil. The media has tried to paint this as Republican versus Democrat, black versus white, Jew versus Gentile, but it's just pure evil versus good. And that's what we all need to unite behind. We all need to unite behind stopping evil, whether it's Timothy McVeigh, who's the terrorist in Oklahoma City, or it's Muslim terrorists in Barcelona, or it's somebody flying a plane into the World Trade Center. It's all evil.
But when you say things like that, when you say it's all evil, but you say you're so proud of Donald Trump, that's the message that resonated. It didn't resonate that you think he might have some information. Let me also tell you what the chair of the RNC, Romney McDaniel, said on Good Morning America this week, that the second people who joined that demonstration saw Nazi flags, they should have turned tail. The second you join a group that has a Nazi flag or is joining the KKK, there is no good there. There's no good KKK member. There's no nice neo-Nazi. So I'm still intrigued by your idea that Donald Trump somehow knows there were some good people there.
I don't know that to be I just know that it's totally true what you just said. There's no good KKK. There's no good white supremacists. I've lived in Lynchburg, Virginia for 55 years. I went to law school at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, lived there for 3 years. I never have met a white supremacist member of a hate group in all my years in that part of the country. That's not what our Central Virginia community is about. And Terry McAuliffe, our governor, was right when he said, these people need to go home. They're not of Virginia. They're not about Virginia. And they're all evil.
So would you say, given what you know, there were no very fine people on that side, the side of the neo-Nazis?
I don't have that information. All I know is those people are pure evil, and there's no moral equivalency. The Secretary of the Treasury said this morning that Donald Trump does not believe there's any moral equivalency between
back to the RNC statement, that you should turn tail if there are neo-Nazis there, and you're still saying you're not sure there weren't very fine people on that side.
I think they should. If somebody showed up and they saw that they were marching beside somebody who hates blacks, who hates Jews, who wants to do violence, I think they should just walk away, yes.
The president also said there is blame on both sides. Susan Bro, the mother of the woman killed in the car attack, Heather Heyer, said she wouldn't talk to the president, as we heard there, because he equated counter-protesters with the KKK. Let's listen.
Well, okay.
I saw an actual clip of him at a press conference equating the protesters like Ms. Heyer with the KKK and the white supremacists. You can't wash this one away by shaking my hand and saying I'm sorry.
What would you say to that mother?
I think the president has made it very clear that there's no moral equivalency between what the counter-protesters did, even though maybe some of them resorted to violence in response. There's no moral equivalency between that and somebody driving his car into a crowd because he hates people of other races. That's wrong. That's just evil. There's no two ways about it. And the president has made that clear. His Secretary of the Treasury said it this morning.
Do you think he could have been clearer?
I think
You've heard Republicans on the Hill. You've heard...
One of the reasons I've supported him is because he doesn't say what's politically correct. He says what's in his heart, what he believes. And sometimes that gets him in trouble. But he does not have a racist bone in his body. I know him well. He is working so hard to help the minorities and people in the inner cities up through. He says that school choice is the civil rights issue of our time. Betsy DeVos has been traveling around the country trying to promote school choice to help inner city youth get to choose which schools they attend and not be stuck in a public school that's failing in a big city. And he's doing so many other things to bring jobs back to the inner city.
Let's stay with this for a moment.
That's what matters.
An NPR report this morning says that a growing number of Liberty University graduates are preparing to return their diplomas in protest of your continuing support for President Trump. Chris Gaumer, a 2006 graduate and former Student Government Association president, told NPR that it was a simple decision. In defending the president's comments, Jerry Falwell Jr. is making himself, and it seems to me, the university he represents, complicit.
He completely misunderstands my support. My support for the president is his bold and truthful willingness to call terrorist groups by their names, and that's something we haven't seen in presidents in recent years.
Well, let's stay on that point. When you endorsed Mr. Trump last year in an op-ed, you criticized President Obama over his handling of ISIS, saying his policies had the intended or unintended effect of breathing life into the lungs of the terrorist group, adding that President Obama and Hillary Clinton most definitely signaled to Islamic State leaders that they had no intention of seriously challenging them or even of calling radical Islamic terrorism by its name. If that is what you believe, then is President Trump making the same mistake by not unequivocally calling the attack in Charlottesville domestic terrorism?
He's doing just
domestic terrorism.
Yes, absolutely. He's doing exactly the opposite of what I was criticizing Obama and Clinton for not doing. He's calling them by their name. He's calling the Nazis, the white supremacists, evil.
He's not calling it domestic terrorism. The president said Tuesday, you could call it terrorism, you can call it murder, you can call it whatever you want. Why hasn't he called the attack in Charlottesville domestic terrorism?
He did. He said that's something for the officials to determine. You call it what you want. He said it was pure evil. He said the driver of that car is nothing but a murderer.
He's the president. Officials. He's the president.
How clear can he be? I don't understand.
He could be clearer by calling it domestic terrorism. So you don't think he needs to do that because other officials have said it? Words matter. He's the one who was criticizing, and you too, President Obama for not calling it Islamic terrorism.
He did. He said it was. He said you can call it terrorism, you can call it evil, you can call it murder. I'm not sure exactly what his words were, but he never said it was not terrorism.
Okay.
He left the door open for that. Yes.
Okay. Do you think he could be a little more careful in his words or not?
All of us could. All of us could. But at least he's not politically correct. He's not so concerned about rehearsing and focus grouping every statement he makes. And that's one of the reasons I support him. And that unites the nation.
Do you feel he's uniting the nation?
I feel like that if people, you know, after I heard his statement the other day, I didn't hear anything there that would offend somebody. But then I started speaking with some of my friends in the Jewish community in Charlottesville. And some of my friends, I have a very good friend who's the president of the largest historically black college in the United States, Hampton University. And we started having conversations. They started explaining to me how insecure and how scared they felt that day when these terrorist groups were walking up and down the sidewalk right outside their synagogue. And I understood after talking to them how good people could hear the same statement and take away different things from it. And after hearing that, I understand how some people could misunderstand his words. And so, yes, I think he could be more polished and more politically correct. But that's the reason I supported him, is because he's not. He says what he thinks, and he is bold about it.